The curse of being vegetarian.
Hello and welcome to our newest edition of our Discover Love Academy. I am Jacqueline and I am a professional matchmaker, and I've designed an amazing program to bring the best of the best experts to you. And I'm really excited because this expert is someone I've known for a while, and I've been able to witness all of the wisdom that she just exudes when she's around amazing people that are open to receiving. And this is your opportunity to truly hear something you've never heard before, learn like you've never learned before, and dive really in. I feel so strongly when you're on your quest for love and you want to keep the love relationship that you do find, you have to do it differently than the way you've been doing it. So I'm excited to introduce to you Linda. She has got an amazing lineup of information to share with you. So Linda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to become a part of Discover Love Academy?
Well, yes, I will, very much so. Thank you, Jacqueline. Why I chose to be involved in this is because I totally believe in the work that you do. And I believe also that it's important to understand who you are so that you can be in that place of finding love. I've been married, and I'm blessed to say, 34 years. So,
love it.
You know, that's kind of crazy in this day and age. But part of it is just, you know, we have that opportunity to be in these relationships, and it's not just like easy, you know.
Right.
Relationships are work sometimes, and they're fun sometimes. So I'm really, today, what I'm excited about offering is helping people understand what their emotional style is, because that goes a long way with not beating yourself up about, oh, I wish I was more like this. Well, no, you're like this, and honor that and go forward.
It's so true. Yes. And I love that you're bringing that up about being married a long time. We have a lot of our experts and coaches that are married and just want more people to experience it. But you don't try to fool us into thinking that, oh yeah, once you find your person, it's all done. There's no more work. You really do bring in, it's work both ways. It's work to be single. It is work to be married. It is part of the journey. It's the awesome work. That's why you go work out at the gym, so you look great afterwards. Right. It's part of that whole process.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, the other piece about that is, as we work on ourselves and grow, even in relationship, that does shift the dynamic in the relationship. And so to always be aware when that is occurring, because the challenge can be for one person to be kind of like growing. The other person is just like, fine being here and I'm static. And then all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, where are you? You know? So if each person is really in tune, and one of the things that one of the messages that is really important for me to convey is that emotional authenticity is, you know, the foundation for unconditional love of oneself. And so when you can be true to who you are emotionally, then, you know, you can deal with all of the emotional experiences that come up, process them, sit with them, and then release them. And it's when they get stuck because of the blind spots in our emotional side, is when they get stuck, that's what creates the emotional baggage that we keep carrying around. So, you know, in whatever way that I can help people understand what their heart's non-negotiable need is, how they express their love, where they get stuck, that just gives them insight as to, it's an awareness thing. It's not like, oh, I'm bad because, you know, I just really want to, you know, help people all the time. It's just I'm, you know, such a bad person for never thinking of myself. Well, no, that's not true. That's how your heart expresses love. But
exactly,
it doesn't mean keep going down the road and not honoring, you know, taking care of yourself and setting boundaries and all of that. So it's like when you understand aspects of yourself like that, you go, ding, 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 ding. Oh, guess I better set a boundary, better say no right now. So,
that is so powerful.
It's not bad. It's giving you that knowledge and understanding to have the awareness to be able to have that power over how you show up in relationship.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense. That is really strong. I love the title of your class, Relate, Date, or Communicate. I'm like, that in itself is just so important. We forget how we do need to connect. We have to communicate. Where are we on this dating journey? And how we don't always know what we represent. So you're bringing up topics right away that are really important, and how, like, it sounds like you're giving us permission to be ourselves right from the start. And I really want to say thank you. And I think that we get lost in that shuffle so early on in the dating process that we lose that representation of our individuality.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think that is challenging, because, when you're out, dating or looking for people to connect with and whatever. We all kind of put our, best face forward and whatever. and so, yes, we want to present, a positive side to who we are, but as well as I do that you can't maintain that facade for a very long period of time. And then
right.
when you're tired of it, and want to just, and you feel, okay, well, it's comfortable for me to be me now, and the other person's going, what the hell? Where is this coming from? and then that's that first moment of, reality. So, part of my, how I am, I'm sort of a jokester, a smart ass, a little, I've got a lot of trickster stuff, energy going on. And so I don't, I don't hold it back tremendously when I first meet somebody, because that's just who I am. And so if I do try to, suppress that part of me, then I'm uncomfortable. I'm not happy. And when it does finally, something comes out of my mouth, people are just going, whoa.
I love that you bring this up, because I have had many times where I've physically introduced clients, and the lady gets all dressed up, got her earrings, her makeup, she's got a cute little outfit. The guy's all clean shaven, full outfit, ready to go, standing proud, confident. And then the next date, I hear feedback, and she's not wearing any makeup. She didn't even put any earrings, and he just kind of went cash. Yeah. And they're like, okay, so who are you? Who am I dating? And that is the part that is so frustrating, because people, like, you do want to be the best version of yourself, of course. We don't want to show all of our zits and warts right away. But at the same time, there needs to be a level of authenticity that you represent, because you're looking for the long haul. You're looking for the duration, which is so huge.
Yeah. Bottom line, emotional authenticity is what it's all about. And the challenge around that is oftentimes, the environments that we grew up in didn't necessarily encourage that kind of dialogue, right? It's like, well, we just don't talk about that.
Right. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
It's huge. It's actually just such a loud statement.
How do you develop emotional resilience unless you deal with and experience emotional problems, issues, complications? That's like anything. You have to, what I love to say is that we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely. I 100% agree on that one. I'm a big believer of that. So I'm glad you bring that up.
So it's like when I, talked about emotions are tricky business, they're not logical. You think back to, Spock on Star Trek and how he was always constantly puzzled by the machinations of the emotional, dilemmas of the crew of the Star Trek Enterprise. And it's like, you have to understand they don't always make sense. And that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that the other person is wrong. It just means you have to figure out how to communicate in a way that you can be mutually understanding of each other.
Right. And I think that's also really important because of the fact that we get preconceived notions of the type of person we want to be with, the type of person we think they want us to be. And so it's important to know who you are, but it's also to know that the other person's coming from their past experiences, their choices, and learning how to find a communication between the two of you is really the ultimate key, because there's an intrigue, there's an interest, but so often people aren't taking the steps to dig a little bit deeper on communication. So what would you say would be some of those initial steps to kind of go, okay, maybe we're just not getting each other, but yet we both have the qualities we're looking for. So how do we dig a little bit deeper?
Well, this is actually kind of a great segue to talk about the work that I do, the modality that I use, which is hand analysis. And so, you know, the patterns in your hands, they're this microcosmic map of the patterns that appear in your life. So there's like more brain neural connections between your brain and your hand than in any part of your body. So the thoughts that you think do show up as lines in your hand.
Wow.
And
that's
those
amazing.
lines,
like, whoa.
And you know, and some of the major lines, your head line, your heart line kind of thing, you know, those are formed in utero, as are your fingerprints. But all of the other miscellaneous lines that are going on, they're a direct relation to, you know, how you're responding out in the world in your physical personality, you know, form. And so this map, which you're carrying around your whole life, is really this blueprint of your strengths, your gifts, your blind spots, your resistance. And so the heart line itself, which is the first line that's underneath, so if the base of your fingers are here, that first line down below it that goes across the palm, that's your heart line. And
okay.
And it's not about, you know, the work that I do, which is hand analysis. It's not palmistry per se. It's not predictive.
Right.
It's not like, oh, you know, I mean, there's marriage, you know, ancient palmistry has marriage lines and how many kids you're going to have. It's like, no, I don't go there at all.
Yeah.
but the heart line. So if it's straight, it's more of an even keel type of emotional response. If it curves up to the fingers, either the middle finger or the index finger, then it has a more emotional component to it. So that's two ways to understand. And
like all of a sudden our people are pulling out their hands going, okay, hold on. You know, which did she say? So you are giving such awesome specifics, and that is really, really powerful. Does it affect how deep the line is, or is it how much the curve?
Right. And so the depth of the line is important. Sometimes there can be a little break in the line. That's important. But for right now, we're just really talking about the, you know, is it straight? Is it curved? And so some straight lines will stop underneath the middle finger. Other straight lines will go all the way across and stop under the index finger. Curved line one will go up, curve, touch the base of the middle finger. Another curved line will have a more gradual curve and stop under the middle or under the index finger. So you were talking earlier about, so I happen to have two very straight heart lines. And that go all the way almost underneath to the edge of my hand. And so that heart line means that I spend a lot of time thinking about what I feel.
There you go.
Which like, is good because I'm such a considerate friend. I'm always like, what is it, you know, is it okay? What do you need? You know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But when I was younger, because my energy is more steady and part of what my non-negotiable need is meaning and deep conversation. And, when I was younger, I attracted, or I shouldn't say attracted, I sought out a lot of people who had the heart line that curves up right to the middle finger. Mm-hmm. And that's the passionate heart line. And their non-negotiable need.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Mine's like right there in the middle. Super passion there.
Their non-negotiable need is stimulation and being in the moment and, being a little bit of a risk taker, and so because that part of myself was not as developed, just because my emotional style is to be more low key and cool, I would seek out someone who was like, yeah, let's party. And
I love that. So true.
It's great to have that aspect in your life, as long as you're not totally depending upon that other person to fulfill that side of yourself, right? And so you can, what I like to say is, if you look at having someone with a passionate heart line to make your life a party, then at some point they're going to get tired of fulfilling that role, and you're going to be going, where, what the hell? Our agreement was that you were going to bring the fun, and now you're not, And so understanding that, yes, they have the opportunity to help you with this, to sort of be a mentor about having fun, about embracing your passions, about stepping forward and taking a little bit of a risk. But ultimately, it's your responsibility to embody that for yourself, so that you're not constantly relying on the other person to fulfill that aspect of what you don't have, right? And
right.
So it's not that you don't have it. It's just not your, you don't need to be out doing stuff all the time. You would rather be kind of, sitting with friends, having a glass of wine, talking about world issues and stuff like that, and they're out snowboarding, So understanding that that's how you operate, makes you less likely to go, oh, they just don't get me, and he's so selfish and blah blah blah. It's more that, cool, he can have his snowboarding days, I can have my wine drinking days, and then we can find stuff to do together.
Exactly. And I have a client that really wants to meet a woman that takes risks, that is looking at, being spontaneous, that wants to go for it. Now I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell everyone, okay, send me your hand analysis first, so I can decide if you can meet him. He is such a catch, but he's so right. It's that extra layer of just somebody that can meet up at his level of taking spontaneity and being a bigger thinker, not just looking within. And it is important, because when you are in a relationship with someone, that you've already given them a job, like they're your entertainment, right. And that's a lot of pressure. Yes. So I'm glad that you're commenting that sometimes it's not meant to be, that you aren't going to just become the wild and crazy person. If that's just not in your makeup, that's okay. You can just enjoy life in different ways.
Right. And so another example would be, so the straight line that ends under the middle finger, so just straight across and ends under the middle finger, that's the hermit heart line. And the hermit's non-negotiable need is freedom, and not freedom from commitment, because loyalty is a really, really important part of their emotional style. Loyalty, integrity, that sort of thing. The freedom comes about from, having the ability to make their choices, or be given the opportunity to make choices. So in relationship, if someone with a hermit heart line is dating or married to someone with a passionate or big heart line, where it's like, let's let's go to our family, my family's for dinner, and, or let's go to this party that I just heard about. What happens is the other person comes and says, oh, we're going to go to Mary's party Saturday night. And they're like, okay, right? And it's not, and they'll go because the person that they're involved with has made a commitment to someone else, and they are, if nothing more, they're about their word. And so they'll go, but they're not going to like it. And so if you give them the opportunity to, just say, hey, there's a party that Mary is giving Saturday night. I thought it would be great if we could go. Then you can have the dialogue about it. And for this particular emotional style, giving them the option to make the choice, which they probably would, because they may know the friend and they want to be together with you and stuff. But if you just put them in that bind right off the bat, it creates a real challenge. And so then, you're at the party and you're wondering why they're off in the corner pouting and going, yeah, I really want to get out of here now, that kind of thing. So just understanding what that person needs to be happy in their emotional style will go a long way to helping you be, in relationship that is honoring each side of the other person.
Oh, I really like that, because there's so many times that people, you feel obligated, you should say yes, or you don't want to leave your partner out. But then there are times to kind of just give them permission to be like, I know this isn't your thing. Exactly. If you wanted to sit and have a Netflix night and I'm going to go see my friends, let's not hold it against each other, because, now we have an excuse. We can kind of explain it. Hey, our heart lines give us this, so we're not being weak or being difficult. We're being clear. And it's so respectful. It's a new way to communicate. That's why I'm so excited that you're sharing this. In also honoring the other person, because too often we don't honor the other person because we can't understand why they wouldn't want to go, because we're like, yeah, hello, I want to go, so you should want to go.
Right, exactly. And so another, to that hermit heartline aspect, part of the way that they show love is by doing, things for others, practical tasks, that kind of stuff. And so, they'll come home and they'll go, I got the oil changed, honey. I picked up the dry cleaning for you, and the person who has perhaps a passionate heartline, who is expecting, rose petals to be strewn across the bedroom floor, right? They're going, tires, really, but it's like, that's her perspective is rose petals. His perspective is doing something like that to be, to make sure that the car she drives is safe and isn't going to skid off of a rainy road. That's how he shows his love. And so again, understanding that, now you can say, I really appreciate that you got the tires. Once or twice a month, I would love it if you brought me roses. Asking for what you need, then if it doesn't happen, then there's another discussion you can have. But if you don't ask and just expect them, that's the biggest thing. It's like, we're not mind readers. I don't know what what you need, what you want, what you desire. And if you don't tell me, how am I supposed to know? And I think that's probably one of the biggest friction points in relationship. It's like, well, if you love me, you know.
Oh my goodness, have we heard that phrase a lot?
Yeah.
And I love that you're really bringing in the importance too of genuinely honoring the communication, as you, obviously this is the title of the class, but it's also, I always say to people, you teach people how to treat you. And it is important to let somebody have the knowledge to actually give you what you want. I feel so often people are withholding it because they want the other one to prove it in its own kind of odd way, which is counterproductive and it's not helping. So what you're saying is, hey, sometimes we need to embrace that maybe they show how they care in a way that we maybe aren't as that's not what we wanted per se, but yet if we can translate it, we might learn to appreciate it more, and knowing that that's how they're doing it, and speak up and listen to one another.
Exactly. And, it's often, we have to be, I think, reminded, because we, in other relationships, and primarily I'm talking about work relationships, we don't have any problem saying, hey, I need this, can you help me, right? But in a personal relationship, for some reason, that capacity sort of disappears sometimes. And again, because it's that, sort of unspoken, whatever, I don't know if it's an expectation, or, if it's because, curse you, Disney and your princesses, that kind of thing.
Right.
That, our true love will just, bring everything and drop it at our feet, and we'll never want for anything again. And the reality is that, we know how to communicate, for the most part, out in the world with other people. Mm-hmm. And then it's like all of a sudden we're this totally different person when it becomes a more intimate form of communication. And ultimately, that's because we have to open our heart in order to allow someone in. And so that thing is, where are you guarded? Where are you carrying that emotional baggage from past relationships? I mean, it's challenging to not, after a couple of relationships that don't work out, to not go into the next one thinking, it's just going to end the same way, right?
Right.
And so,
huge.
But what I love about it is that, as with anything, we learn, hopefully, a little something from each relationship that we're in. Oh, this didn't work. Oh, well, my expectations weren't unrealistic. This is what I'm not going to settle for. This is now clear to me that this is the line in the sand, right? So all of those things are ways to get to a place where you can allow yourself to be emotionally authentic and have that openness, that heart connection received and lovingly held.
Oh, I love that. I feel like all of our listeners are going, hey, hold on. She totally gets me. Because it is that feeling that we do. We speak up at work. We speak up to the neighbors. We speak up to family. And, we just do what we need to do. But when it comes to a relationship, suddenly there's this feeling that, oh, well, they should have the handbook already. They should already know all of these things. We set people up for failure. And that is where it is so unfortunate, and why I feel so strongly that love connections aren't coming together, because we aren't giving the other person the tools and the time to catch up to what you want. It's one thing to say you want flowers once a month, but give him a few months to catch on to that, and
right.
Also wonder how important that is. So you're really bringing up very important steps that I'm like, okay, listeners, write this down. You need to really stop and think, how much expectation are you putting on someone that you're not even participating yourself in? And that is a really important aspect.
Yeah, very, very much so. And so, understanding, so for like the hermit heart line, the short line that stops underneath your middle finger. So there's these, pieces of, they're loyal, they, love to do things, get things done for the people they love, that sort of stuff. Their blind spot, though, is about asking for help, is about not getting lost in their work, right? Because they love doing things, getting things done. So being able to, sometimes they will put this wall up around them because they, if there's someone who is very much, oh, let's talk about this. Would you? And they're just like, because
totally retreat.
They're not the emotional talky type of person. And so if, if they are in a, marriage, then what has to happen is that person, the one who is like, okay, I don't really like to talk about emotional stuff a lot, but their job in this lifetime is to learn to open up 20% more. They're never going to be spilling their guts out to you, but they can open up 20% more. And so then what they have to learn is, all right, I need a little sanctuary time here to get my head in the game so that I can come out and have this conversation. You can't spring this stuff and on that person and expect them to just like dish at that moment in time. So again, understanding that that's what they need, understanding what the other person, requires you to be a little more open. Now you can, do the dance and adjust your behaviors to meet somewhere in the middle. And, the passionate heartline is, their challenge is sort of because they're the type of person who very much knows what they want and goes about their business and this, that, and the other. Their challenge can be getting a little over dramatic, or the other part is if they've always been, because oftentimes when the passionate heartline person is younger, they are often told that they're being selfish, that they only think about themselves, that kind of thing, because they know what they want. It's like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to go there, I want to see blah blah blah, and everybody else in the world who isn't as specific and sure of themselves, that gets pointed out to them, and so that like they're reminded of how indecisive they are, and so they're going to turn it on you, and it's like, well, okay, so stop being so selfish, and then what happens is that person with the passionate heartline starts to shrink, starts to dim their light, right? And so it can go, all over the top in one direction of like, look at me, I'm fabulous, or it could be, and so, yes, you are meant to shine specifically with this emotional style. Where are you honoring it, and where are you resisting that piece? So that's that,
Right.
knowing that.
Exactly.
Really
well, and that really triggers a lot of thoughts that I just can just tell my listeners are going, how many times that somebody has said something that just kind of shuts you down a little bit, it makes it to where you start to lose who you are in the process. And then the person who was doing that didn't realize they were actually kind of weighing you down with their emotional baggage and making you smaller. And then they're like, where did your spunk and excitement go? And it's because they kind of took the flame away. So we have to be careful too that we don't make someone kind of go through the ringer with us and then wonder why they don't have their spunk anymore. I mean, it's a definite intertwining energy.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, absolutely. And one of the heart lines that, I mentioned earlier, but we haven't talked a whole lot about is the big heart line. And so that is the line that starts at the edge, and it has a curve, but it's a gradual curve that ends up underneath the index finger. And so the non-negotiable need for that heart line is connection. They just love being in relationship. They, how they show their love is giving to and taking care of others, oh, you need some soup if you're sick, that kind of stuff. And that's how they show love, by nurturing other people. So where their challenge lies is the self-sacrifice piece, right? Where does nurture become, nurturing others really kind of turns around and shows you that you're not nurturing yourself, right? The self-care piece yourself goes away. And the other piece about that is, and I often will ask my clients this, is like, because one of the pet peeves of this heartline is being left out or not being appreciated. And,
Right. Yeah,
and
I can
so
imagine.
I'll say, well, they'll be going, I did this, and they didn't even say thank you. And it's like, well, did they ask you to do it for them? Well,
Isn't that
no.
the truth? Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, obviously they could have been polite and said thank you, but sometimes people don't say thank you because they're annoyed that you're doing stuff for them and they just want you to go away, right?
Yes, gratitude is very important, but that's true. So we also have to remember that sometimes people do things just for the thank you, and that's giving unconditioned.
Yes.
So you really brought up such an important point that we're already looking for what are we going to get in return for what we're giving. Well, that's not as authentic. So we want to make sure that we are being authentic, not just going, okay, here you go, but now what do I get in return?
Absolutely. That is so, so true. And, it's, I think that if there is one piece that if people could just have an awareness around that, it would go such a long way to eliminating many of the butt hurts that go on about how people are, in relationship. It's like, well, and it's like, yeah, but, why were you doing it? Were you doing it, what was your motivation? What was your expectation for the reward, the outcome? If you can't give from an open heart, and you don't get the results you want, you're going to be left feeling bad. And that's the source of many a fight in a relationship.
And it's something that, through what you're saying is the better we can understand the heartline, the better we can understand where the other person's coming from. So yes. This isn't about one's better than the other or taking away. It's understanding that this is deep within us. This is our authentic truth right here on our palms. Right. And it makes such a difference. And I think that when we have more tools, I've always believed in it, we can make a big difference, but yours are very specific tools that allow you to kind of know, okay, this person I need to work with this way. It doesn't make it any less or more attractive. It means that they're your person, and we have to learn these ways of understanding one another.
Right. And so my mentor, he created this system probably about 25 years ago and had been studying all aspects of palmistry and hand analysis. Like at one point they did a lot of study of the hands to see if it could be used as a medical diagnostic tool, right? What was in the hand. So he read everything and created this system that is a repeatable database of information combined with, he's read 60,000 pairs of hands over 40 years, and he would take people's stories about what they were talking about and match it to a specific aspect of the hand. And so the marker itself is repeatable, but how it shows up or relates to your individual life story, experience, and other markers in your hands makes it unique to you. And so my feeling about this is that it really gives us this understanding from a very non-judgmental point of view that this is, who we are here to be. These are the tools that we have to operate with in this. And this is the path that I'm supposed to be on, that I chose to be on. And how can I, embrace all of those parts of me, the good and the bad, because, you know, the pendulum swings, right? He calls it the Goldilocks, you know, syndrome, too much, too little, just right. And so we have to have the too much experience of dating the bad boy to, you know, hiding out and becoming, you know, a chastity queen, and, you know, until we find that mid ground, right?
Right.
And so, so what I was going to say was that he named his heart lines after movie stars, you know, back in the day, and I like it because for most people, and you know, very very young people may not know, but you can get a sense that the essence of what the heart line conveys. So for the big heart line, the one that curves and goes up underneath the index finger, he calls that the Donna heart line, and he named it after the actress Donna Reed. And so, you know, she was the classic homemaker who wore the pearls and took care of everybody, right? The romantic idealist heart line, which is the long line that goes all the way across to underneath the index finger, he calls that the Michael heart line, which is named after the actor Michael Caine. So, you know, this very British, you know, proper, you know, non-quite emotional type thing. The passionate heart line he calls the Gina, and that's the one that goes here and curves up under the middle finger. And the Gina he named after the actress Gina Lollobrigida. So she was this Italian firebomb, you know, drove around in little sports cars and stuff like that. And then the Hermit he named after, he calls it the Clint, and it's the Clint Eastwood. So there's that sort of stoic thing, right? So a lot of times with women, because you can have two different heart lines. And so your dominant hand is the you out in the world, and your non-dominant hand is more your inner circle, close personal relationships.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really cool.
So a lot of times, a woman will have a big heart line, the Donna, out in the world. And so she's taking care of everybody and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And on her non-dominant hand, her inner world, she has a Gina. And so it's like, I've seen this so many times. It's like, okay, so there are a pair of 6-inch red high heels in your closet. You need to take them out and put them on and get rid of the pearls, right? So honoring those parts of ourselves, because the Gina is just as valid as the Donna, but we don't give the Gina very much, you know, access to the world because we're, you know, that's too scary. And, you know, I'm comfortable being the nurturer. So, you know,
powerful.
It is powerful. And I met with one woman who actually had been in an abusive relationship, and you know, was in the process of extricating herself from that, and she had that very situation. And when I told her that her Gina, her passionate heart line, which was in her inner world part, was who she needed to call on to help her make that final step away from that relationship, that she had that ability because she was so stuck in the nurturer self-sacrifice place of her heart line. And
that makes a lot of sense.
And when she heard that, she started crying. And the next day that I saw her, because it was like a 2-day event, the next day I saw her, she was transformed. The energy, the purpose, the determination, it was just like, girl, you got in touch with her. I can see that. So
exactly,
you know, it is. It's really like anything. It's knowledge that gives us awareness, that brings us to the place of, you know, ultimately opening our heart, being true to who we are, so that people can when they see us, they get us. There's nothing to be peeled
Exactly.
away and that sort of thing.
Right. Well, and you really are bringing up such a powerful point, as I know our listeners are going, hold on. There are moments when you're going, am I this or am I that? And it is really powerful to know that, yeah, the lines can be a little bit different and there's a reason. And it's giving your inner message life because it's right there in your palms. And it's also that key element of speaking your true self and opening the heart. I feel like, I'm so glad I put my heart necklace on for our call and heart earrings and all, because it is really what we represent is that need to open up our hearts. And I see people all the time and they're just so blocked. It's like bricks laying around the edges of the heart. And you're just like, come on, let's chisel that thing out of there. And so you're giving us some really specific tools to look at this and also to get that inner message that we need to do and to bring alive. That is just so powerful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time. So what else would you like to share with our amazing group? I know they're chomping at the bit and want to know so much more. And really just knowing that moment, like on a date, should you grab your person's hands and flip it over and go, okay, hold on, what heart are you? Are you the Donna or the not?
And the reality is that, you'd be surprised at how often people talk with their hands, they gesture and stuff like that. So you can, you don't even have to like grab their hand and look at it. You can just, when they're holding it up and talking, you can notice, right?
Right.
And if nothing else, it will give you an understanding of what, how they operate, what, connection is important to them. Deep conversation and meaning is important to them, which is good because I like deep conversation too, cool. But what I would say is for those who are listening, you can go to my website. It's findyourcreativevoice.com. And in the upper right corner, there's a little box that you can leave your email address. And what I will send you is a PDF of a booklet that shows there's actual handprints with highlighted lines of each of the topics that we talked about with these little cheat sheets, the non-negotiable need, the pet peeve, the blind spot. And so you'll be able to, have it as just a little something to think about. And then when you're out there, meeting people, you'll at least have some sense of, okay, well, and you can't assume, everything, because sometimes people will not own that part of themselves that they should be doing, right? The path, is dimming the light and stuff. But you could talk to them in ways that will open dialogue that is more valuable for understanding than just casual chit chat.
Right. And I really love this because every extra element that we have is so powerful. And to be able to know a little bit more. I remember one time speaking in front of a big group of people, and this woman walks up to me afterwards going and commenting on my hands, and she was in the front, and I talk with my hands like crazy. So she was like, oh my goodness, I noticed this. I'm like, how could you tell from that far? But I think my lines are pretty deep. And she was spot on. She got so many things about me very quickly. And I think it's important to know there's other ways to look at this. There's other ways to dig in and learn to open up your heart. And you have just opened up our minds to so much more. And I love that extra element, another layer to really micro in what it is that people are needing to be more vulnerable on their love journey.
Exactly. Well, yeah. And you are definitely with your passionate heartline, the person to be up there leading the parade and helping people find their, and identify with what they are passionate about, what they want to be, to bring into their lives, to actualize. And, my personal feeling about, living your heart's desires is that, the actualization of 1,000 dreams, really, it rests on one thing. It rests on you being willing to open your heart, to ask for what you need, and more importantly, being open to receiving it.
Oh my goodness, thank you for saying that last sentence, because that is the biggest obstacle, is freaking accept it. Like, you've been asking, you've been wishing, you've been dating, you've been doing all the little things, and then somebody wonderful comes along and you're like, oh my goodness, run away, I don't know what to do. And so for you just to really wrap this up with that energy of just saying, receive, like, thank you for giving us permission. It just makes my heart open hearing you say that.
Well, our work here is done.
Exactly. I am so honored to have spoken with you, to share you with our group, and really just dig in at a deeper level. There's so much more to learn and discover, and this has been a really great opportunity. So I thank you for everything, and I look forward to our next presentation next quarter.
Yes, me too. Thank you, Jacqueline.